I can promise you that your favorite guitar players, regardless of genre, use these two amazing sliding techniques to level up their playing in lead guitar scenarios. And in this video, I'm going to show you these exact techniques and how you can dial them in so that they're baked into your own personal playing. So grab your guitar and let's jump in. What's up, guitar players? My name's Guthrie with Easy Guitar Practice, and like I just said, I'm going to be showing you two really incredible sliding techniques that are absolutely a part of every single professional guitar player's arsenal. And so that's what I'll be showing you today. Make sure you watch the entire video because I won't just be showing you the techniques. I'm going to give you a few simple exercises that you can use so you can actually take these techniques, bake them into your system, and then express them in your own playing in any scenario you see fit. So let's jump in with the techniques. We're going to go over technique one to start, of course, and it sounds like this in action. So there's the technique. I'm putting a little phrase on the back end of it. All we're focusing on is that little double up slide. All right, in these examples, I'll be showing you things inside of an A minor pentatonic scale shape. So we're going from the 7th fret on the G string, sliding up to the 9th fret, and then we're basically coming back down to the 8th fret and right back up to the 9th fret. All right, that's if I just hit the note once. You can hit it twice. Subtle differences. All right, like I said, there's going to be an exercise I'll show you where you can play around with those differences inside of the exercise and dial those both in and figure out what your preference is. You might like them both, but a different scenario might call for a different approach. All right, so right, I hit that little double up. Oftentimes there's something on the back end of that. You might not just linger there. So I slid down right from 9 to 7. Hit the 5th fret of the G string, kind of a pull down, slight bend down just to give it a little expressive nature. All right, but that's the technique. Now, as I'm talking, you can play around with that, see how you're feeling with it. But I just want to give you the technique. Like I said, the exercise is going to be really important to actually, getting it down under your fingers, baking it into your system, as I keep saying. That's kind of the phrase of the day, dialing it in. But there's technique one, and we're going to jump into technique number two, and it sounds like this in action. So there's technique two. Same thing, I put a little phrase on the back end. Because that's, for me, what usually kind of comes afterwards, right? So we're just focusing on that little half-step slide up and down. But oftentimes, it's coming right into a pull-off. Right? So we don't have to worry too much about the phrase I'm hitting on the back end. I will explain it just so that, if you are curious. Up, down, right, from 7th fret on the G string, same thing. Up to the 8th, back down to the 7th. Pulling from the 7th to the 5th fret. And then I just went back from 7 to 5. Play it a little bit cleaner. All right, but same thing. There's the technique. You can play around with that, for a few more seconds. Because now we'll transition into the exercises. Right? You can, as I was saying, you can kind of just mess around with that little half-step slide. But we're going to jump into the exercises. And I don't want to waste any of your time. I don't want to beat you over the head and, make you come back to this video a gazillion times. So with that being said, there is a downloadable PDF with the exercises. It's free. I'm not one of those people that's going to give you, make you give me your emails and like your social security. Download it for free. It's a simple, Google Drive link, and you'll be able to mess with these exercises on your own. Of course, if you do find it helpful, like and subscribe. That's helpful for me, and we'll keep you in the know with other videos and things like that, lessons that I'll be sharing with you all. And lastly, if you really do want to get great with these techniques, really bring them into your playing so that you can make them expressive, make them a part of your own style, I would practice each one of these exercises for about 5 minutes on the front end of your session, all right? You can use it as needed, but like I said, if you really, really want to bring this into your own personal playing style, I would suggest 5 minutes of each. Every single time you're going to pick up the guitar, hit this on the front end and do that for a month or 4 weeks, right? 4 to 5 weeks. And I think you'll really see this, big progression, this big jump in your playing when it comes to this technique, all right? So let's jump into the exercises. We're going to start with an exercise for technique number 1. So high E down to low E, back to high E, ping-ponging back and forth. Set a timer. Like I said, I think 5 minutes is a really optimal time. Not too long, not too short, just right to make sure you get in a really solid amount of reps. All right. Now in that scenario, I'm using the kind of, one stroke, technique. Right, so I'm just hitting the string once and doubling up on that slide. But you can also hit the string twice, right? As you come down on that half step slide down, right? Instead of just, lingering on that one stroke, you can re-hit when you get down to that, half step, right? So in this scenario, 7 up to 9 on the G string. When I get back down to 8, I can just re-hit, and just a subtle difference to the technique. And what I would say is, you can go, from the high E down to the low E and back up, right? Kind of one rep, and you can use the, one stroke technique, right? Or you can then, on the next one, I should say, and on the next one, you can, hit the 2, right? And you can just go back and forth so that you can feel out the difference in the technique. And you'll want them both. It's basically scenario dependent and how you're feeling and how you want to express yourself on this instrument. So let's go through it a little slower. I don't want to talk you through every single fret. I don't think that's really helpful. You have the tabs, you can hear it out, and then you have to sound it out on your end. And I think that's the best way to really get it under your fingers and have a great understanding. Use your ears, and then, use your hands to then, get it into your own system, all right? And go back and forth, hear yourself, hear the exercise, hear yourself, hear the exercise. All right, but in this, in this rep, I'm going to use that kind of double stroke, double hit technique, all right? So let's do it one more time, and then we'll move on to the second exercise for technique number 2. All right, and last thing I'll say about this is you can use, right, this is all in an A minor pentatonic. You can, look at it as an extended, A minor pentatonic scale shape, really just using that kind of traditional, really simple pentatonic shape to kind of map this out, just to give you some context. But you can try this drill over an A minor, backing track if you like. You can, it'll work well over an A blues backing track. And I do think you should use a metronome. If you're going to take this seriously, everything I just did, in my mind, was a little sloppy. It's best, I will get most dialed in if I have a backing track, and it's going to translate best into a jam scenario, guitar scenario, gigging scenario, if you're making sure that this is rhythmic as you're going through it. Now, if you're really new, you're just kind of sounding things out, you might not want to play with a metronome or a backing track yet. Just take your time with the technique. But once you start getting comfortable with it, backing track, metronome to keep you in rhythm as you're going through it, all right? And before we jump into the second exercise, just a good rule of thumb, no finger or hand pun intended. You want to make sure you're not squeezing the heck out of the neck, all right? Just enough pressure that the note rings out, but not so much that you're creating too much friction to get a good slide, right? If you listen closely, a few of those slides in that last, rep, that last little set of that, exercise one, you can hear where there's a little too much friction. And anyway, so just enough pressure to make sure that there's a good slide and that the note's ringing out. If you are brand spanking new to guitar, you can just work on that. Right? And just work on the slide, okay? You don't have to do the entire technique or either of these techniques, just work on one little slide at a time, okay? Let's jump into exercise 2. It's gonna be really similar, high E to low E, and then we'll wrap up and you can go do your own dang thing. So again, high E to low E, back to high E, and we're just bouncing back and forth for 5 minutes. Remember that we're getting that pull off as well. So that's a really important part of this technique and this kind of phrase inside of this exercise. You're gonna hear that a lot with this technique. It's gonna lead into a pull off. One more time, super slow. All right, we'll go through it one time really slow so you can hear it out, or slower. Remember, you can adjust the settings on YouTube if you need to bring it down to 90%, 80%, 70%, 60%, 50% to really hear things out. Please do that. Again, you want to be able to hear this really well so that you can then sound it out really well on your end when you're practicing. Okay, so one more time through exercise 2, and then we'll wrap up. When we go slow, we can hear our blemishes. It really forces us to dial things in. Doesn't sound nearly as sexy when we go a little bit slower, but very important for dialing in your technique. So there is the deal. Use it, do it, redo it, repeat it, do it on the front end of each one of your, practice sessions, playing sessions for the next, 4 to 5 weeks, next month. If you really want to get great at this, technique quickly or as quickly as possible, it still requires a lot of, diligent work, but that's the approach I would take. And then use it as needed, or, sprinkle it into your practice sessions as you see fit based on, the variety you like in your practice. And of course, like and subscribe if you did find this helpful, because I've got a lot of good stuff coming out. And I think a lot of good stuff that already is out that you can check out and continue to, get better and better as a guitar player. So anyways, peace. Thank you all for stopping by. I love you.